At Harvard's grand orientation, among the sea of legacy kids and prep school valedictorians, sat a young man named Elias. He was quiet, unassuming, his clothes simple, his demeanor reserved. He clutched a worn notebook, its pages filled with equations and observations that were his whole world. Around him, laughter and confident chatter echoed through the hallowed hall. A group of students nearby, dressed in designer labels, cast condescending glances his way. "Look at him," one whispered, just loud enough for Elias to hear. "Probably a diversity admission. I bet he won't last a semester." Elias's jaw tightened. He'd heard whispers like that his whole life. He'd fought twice as hard for his spot here, aced every exam, and spent sleepless nights in the lab while others partied. He wasn't here by chance. He was here because of his relentless passion for astrophysics. But in this moment, surrounded by privilege, his achievements felt invisible. He shrank a little in his seat, the weight of their judgment pressing down on him. The orientation ceremony began. Speeches were made, traditions explained. Elias tried to focus, to soak in the history of the institution he'd dreamed of attending. But the snickers from the group behind him were a constant, grating distraction. They mimicked his focused expression, made jokes about his second-hand blazer. Each laugh was a small paper cut to his spirit. I felt an old familiar shame creep in, the kind that made him want to disappear. He clutched his notebook tighter, the familiar feel of the worn cover a small comfort. Inside were his theories on dark matter, sketches of star formations, calculations that stretched the boundaries of known physics. This notebook was his shield, his proof of worth, even if no one else could see it. He took a deep breath, reminding himself why he was here. Not for them, but for the stars. Finally, the Dean of Sciences, a formidable woman named Dr. Alani, stepped up to the podium. A hush fell over the auditorium. She had an air of authority that commanded instant respect. "Welcome, the brilliant minds of tomorrow," she began, her voice resonating with power. "Each of you is here because you possess a unique spark. But today, I want to talk about a different kind of brilliance, the kind that burns quietly, persistently, away from the spotlight." Elias felt a strange pull, as if she was speaking directly to him. The group behind him, however, was getting restless, whispering about which after-party they'd attend. Dr. Alane continued, "Every year, Harvard funds a single, groundbreaking research project from an incoming student. This is the Zenith Grant, a most prestigious award, providing resources, lab access, and mentorship to pursue a truly revolutionary idea." The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Everyone knew about the Zenith Grant. It was a kingmaker, a launchpad to scientific stardom. The students who had been mocking Elias now sat up straighter, their faces filled with entitled anticipation. One of them, a legacy student named Carter, smirked. "It's mine," he mouthed to his friends. "My father's a major donor." His friends nodded in agreement, already planning his celebration. They saw the grant as just another possession to be acquired. "The selection process is anonymous and rigorous," Dr. Alani explained, her eyes scanning the crowd. "We look for originality, for courage, for a proposal that has the potential to change the way we see the universe." She paused, letting the suspense build. "This year, we received hundreds of submissions from the brightest young scientists in the world. Proposals on quantum computing, on genetic engineering, on climate solutions. But one stood out." Elias's heart started to pound. He had submitted his proposal, pouring his soul into the pages, never daring to imagine it would even be seriously considered. It was a long shot, a dream whispered into the void. He looked down at his hands, trying to calm their trembling. This student's proposal, Dr. Alani's voice, was filled with a rare, genuine excitement, was described by the review committee as a once-in-a-generation leap of theoretical physics. It presents a new mathematical model for observing dark matter. A concept so audacious, so elegant, it left our senior physicists in awe. A wave of murmurs swept through the hall. Carter's confident smirk faltered slightly. His own proposal on sustainable energy, while solid, was nowhere near that revolutionary. His friends exchanged uncertain glances. The air grew thick with tension. Who could it be? The whispers turned from arrogant boasts to frantic guesses. Everyone was looking around, trying to spot the hidden genius in their midst. "This work," Dr. Alani said, her gaze sweeping over the rows of students, "requires not just intelligence, but a deep, unwavering dedication. It is the kind of work that is done not for glory, but for the pure love of discovery." Her eyes seemed to find Elias in the crowd. For a split second, their gazes met. In her expression, he saw not pity, but recognition. It was a look that said, "I see you." A warmth spread through his chest, pushing back the cold sting of the earlier mockery. In that moment, it didn't matter if he won. It was enough that someone understood the fire that drove him. Then, Dr. Alani smiled. "It is my great honor to announce that the recipient of this year's Zenith Grant for his extraordinary proposal, Harmonic Resonance in Dark Matter Fields, is ... Elias Washington." For a moment, there was complete silence. The name hung in the air, unfamiliar to the privileged circles that dominated the room. The group behind Elias froze, their mouths agape, their faces cycled through a rapid sequence of disbelief, confusion, and then a dawning, horrified realization. Elias, the quiet kid in the cheap blazer, the one they had dismissed and ridiculed. He was the genius. Elias himself couldn't move. His mind went blank. The name echoed in his ears, but it felt disconnected from him. Dr. Alani was looking right at him, a broad, proud smile on her face. "Mr. Washington, please stand." Slowly, as if waking from a dream, Elias rose to his feet. The auditorium remained silent, all eyes fixed on him. The mocking group stared, their faces pale. Their world, built on assumptions of status and wealth, had just been shattered. They had mocked a king without realizing he was wearing a crown of stars. Then, a single person started clapping. It was a professor in the front row. Then another joined, and another. Soon, the entire auditorium erupted in a thunderous, standing ovation. It was a wave of sound, of acceptance, of respect. He looked at the faces of the students who had belittled him. There was no mockery now, only shock and a grudging, undeniable respect. Carter couldn't even meet his eye. Elias had won not just a grant, but a victory over the petty judgments that had tried to keep him down. As he walked toward the stage to shake the dean's hand, he wasn't the quiet, unassuming student anymore. He was a scientist, a visionary, and he was just getting started. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more.